This is Aaron Jenny with Endeavor Defense Fitness. Today we are going to actually talk about some soft tissue techniques to get us loose and keep us kind of prepared and healthy and efficient for the fight side of things. We talk about mobility a lot in CrossFit, but we don't actually get into it too much or ever really in Krav Maga or in our BJJ classes or our hip fit courses. So we're going to talk about a couple of really basic moves that come with some of the most common injuries, twists, tweaks, pulls, and stuff that you're going to see in Krav Maga or any of our striking classes. So the first thing, and really the most important with a lot of this stuff, is we're going to work on the calf and get the Achilles nice and loose. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, this instance right now, this is a PVC roller. We've got rumble rollers. You can take a barbell, really anything cylindrical that can get this done. So I'm going to take my foot. I'm going to start all the way down by the heel. I'm going to have my other foot up on top to apply pressure. And what I'm going to do is actually mash right to left. Okay, so I'm turning, I'm trying to relax the calf, relax the Achilles the best I can, and I'm moving slowly from side to side, back and forth. So I'll do this 5, 10, 20 times. I move a little bit further up and do the same exact thing. Apply as much pressure down as possible. Roll side to side, just smashing those muscles in. Nice and slow and focusing on breathing nice and deep. And what I'll do is continue this motion all the way up from the heel all the way to just underneath the knee. And same thing, every single time I move up a couple inches at a time, I'll move back and forth nice and slow. Okay? So that's going to be a good way to loosen up some of the tissues on the calf and to keep the Achilles and the calf nice and healthy. The next one we're going to actually talk about is the hip flexors. So for the hip flexor during front kicks, during the copious amounts of knees we do, and during stomp kicking, we're going to get this nice and loose. We're going to take our roller once again. I'm going to take my hip and I'm going to drive my hip flexor down onto the roller. So I'm almost perpendicular to the roller. What I'm going to do, once again, starting from the inside of the groin, is I'm going to twist and rotate the hip flexor across the pipe. So we're doing essentially the same exact maneuver with a side-to-side motion, but now we're just working on the hip flexor. I can move up and down if I find a good hot spot, or I can just continue this left to right motion. So again, just helping us loosen up some of the more commonly used muscles we get into. Now we're going to change directions. We're going to actually talk about the shoulders a little bit, spending a lot of time up with our hands up in a fight position, spending a lot of time driving out, doing hooks, a lot of lat tension, a lot of trap tension, and a lot of shortening of the pecs and the anterior delt. So we're going to use a lacrosse ball. It costs $2 at most stores. We've got a bunch of them. First thing we're going to do is start on the pec. So I'm going to take my hand, it's going to go behind my back, palm facing out, and I'm going to drive my chest down into the lacrosse ball. Whatever side the lacrosse ball is on, I'm actually going to turn my head away and really sink into that motion. So I'm going to slowly move the lacrosse ball all along the outside of the delt, all the way along the clavicle, and I'm going back and forth, finding trigger points. If you find a really bad trigger point, you can go ahead and just kind of settle on top of it and focus on your breathing. Okay, so that's going to be a really good way to open the shoulders back up. Last thing we're going to talk about is actually the posterior part of the shoulder. So we're going to talk about getting the shoulder blades to pull back and get everything nice and solid. So I'm going to lay on top of the lacrosse ball. I'm going to have it right into my lat. So anywhere on the inside of that scapula, wherever I can get it, your shoulder blade. I'm going to relax into it. I'm going to take my hand straight up in the air. And when I find myself a good trigger point, I'm going to slowly move all the way, thumb into the hip, and then thumb slowly overhead, touching the ground. I'm keeping the elbow locked out, the arm straight, and once again, breathe deep, move slow through this entire motion. Another thing we can get into to actually mimic the punching style is when I find one of those good trigger points, I can pull the elbow in and drive the elbow out. Pull the elbow in and drive the elbow out. Once again, working specifically on that in and out punching style motion. So, real easy stuff you can get done before class starts, after class is over, just to keep up with range of motion and health of the muscles when we're really punishing them.